Football Update. It's with your host, Sean Spencer and Alex Loosemore.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that is Let's Talk Football. And you see who I'm with on this Tuesday in November, my guy, Mr. Alex Loosemore. What up, Alex?
Not too much. Excited after that weekend, taking down that team down south again, playing for our third straight Big Ten title, and essentially locking in a playoff spot. So it's all good around here.
Oh yeah. Third win in a row, and without your head coach on the sidelines.
Yeah, best one yet.
even Lou Holtz had some choice words to say from Mr. Ryan Day.
Yep.
Long flight home, long flight back. Look, we are here. This is college football update. You see who my guys repping. And yep, I still got my Tar Heels on, even though all my football teams had a rough weekend. It's all good. We're still talking it. But look, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. But Rivalry Week was just upon us. We just got through all the major matchups, went down. Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon State, Bama, Auburn, the Iron Bowl. Obviously, North Carolina played NC State, Florida. So many great games. Let's start
Apple
at
Bowl. So many.
It was so great to watch because this is one of the first weekends in a while. Like, we watch all the games, but this is one of the first weekends in a while where it's just like, I just want to watch all of this one and all of this one. You know what I mean? Like, and you're mixing and matching from time to time, but there's sometimes you're just like, man, I just want to sit here and watch this. Like, this is just beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, me, oh, my. Man, let's go into it. I know I texted you some points of the game, but there were some points that I thought maybe I'll just let it be. Maybe a little nerve-wracking. How would you – what would you think? Obviously, you won. How would you feeling?
It was a good game. I felt confident right off the bat. And really throughout most of the game, mostly because of Kyle McCord.
Yeah.
He's not the kind of quarterback that's going to win that kind of game or win them those big games, win them that national championship. So I felt supremely confident the majority of the game. Now, when he started picking us apart on that last drive, I was like, oh boy, here, like, they might make a run at this. But that was the only time I was really nervous. And then again, he just made the young quarterback mistake through the pick. Sucked to see Zinter go down the right guard because he was pushing to be a first-round pick, and that was a nasty injury. It was one of those where they didn't show it on the screen after he broke both his tibia and his fibula. So I had to have surgery that night. It was bad. So we'll see what happens there, but big second half from the run game. The offensive line stepped it up. The defensive line played very well. They didn't get to run the ball very much. And Marvin Harrison Jr. said that the coverage Michigan threw at him was something he hadn't seen before. So I didn't notice too much difference from what we've been running. But they were kind of just doubling him the majority of the time. It was that press corner the entire time, with that safety kind of hovering there just in case. But great performance by the defense. The offense took some time to get rolling, but I thought JJ settled in, the run game settled in, and it was a good, solid win.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. And hey, to our point, we did say McCord late in the game, they were going to be trying to come back and they were going to throw an interception. And I remember when I saw it, I was like, Alex, oh my goodness. We called it. But to your point, man, the running game was it, man. The ground and pound had over 150 yards and 2 TDs, and led by Blake Corum, your guy. 22 carries, those 88 yards. But I got to say, as a running back, as somebody who's – I hate to see somebody get hurt, but loves the moment that it could potentially create. when my guy, your boy Blake Corum scored that touchdown.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then goes in and goes 6'5"?
6'5", yeah.
Yeah, I had chills, man.
Oh
I
yeah.
was just like,
yeah.
my, I had a range of emotions. Like, that is why you play this game. They literally lifted up their game for that man, and to end it in that way, running the ball and then relying on that tough defense. That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Yeah, I literally I was watching the game with my parents, and I told my dad right as that injury happened, I was like, they're either going to fall flat on their face or it's going to galvanize and they're going to get going. And right as I finished saying that, Corum broke the hole and was gone. I was just like, okay, we know which one it is. Like, they're doing all right.
Right. Now, I will say shout out to Harrison. Although he only had 5 receptions, he was able to crack the 100 yards barrier and get himself a touchdown. But to your point, he kept them in the game, but McCord, there's certain moments where you kind of knew, but like you said, on that drive before, when he was driving down and they scored, you're just like, ooh, okay, okay. This is what you get nervous about. But at the end of the day, we saw what happened. And we talked about this last time. Ryan Day, 0-3, last 3 years in the biggest game. And I've seen stats where it's like he's 51 and, like 4 or
I think 56 and 7.
Yeah, against all other teams, and then just cannot get it done against you guys. Maybe he's not in the hot seat, but I mean, these boosters at Ohio State, I mean, there's one game that they have to win. It's a prerequisite. You come here, you beat Michigan, and he can't get it done. What is that going to say about his legacy?
He's going to be on the hot seat entering next season, I think. Now, if they get rid of him, it's an absolute mistake. Right. I was going through my head after that game, and I thought of maybe 6-7 coaches that you would take over Ryan Day. Out of the 130 some odd jobs in Division I college football, there's like 6 or 7 guys that you would take over Ryan Day, and you ain't getting them to leave their schools.
Right.
So, they got to figure it out. They got to get tougher. That was the best version of Ohio State against us they've put out in the last 3 years. They played very physical, very tough. It just wasn't quite enough. No. I will say if they had this version of the team with Stroud, I think they beat us. I really think they do. To me, it was purely the quarterback play that kept them behind in that game. Yeah. So yeah, that they got to just get that last piece, get a little bit tougher, get a better quarterback, and then this becomes that pure sense of the rivalry again, where it's back and forth.
Right. And you hope for that, and they're going to get stud recruits, but you're not going to have a Marvin Harrison Jr. again. You know what I mean? You might not have some of the guys that you have right now, so. We'll see what happens. McCord, hopefully for them, he'll only get better. But this is not a good look for the Buckeyes. I know that Acorn is not too happy. They're not too thrilled.
Yeah. Now, something to keep an eye on. I'm actually seeing more and more. I don't know if I buy it yet or not, but something to keep an eye on. Marvin Harrison Jr. is actually considering coming back for another year.
Really?
It's the exact same thing you saw with Hutchinson and all those older guys at Michigan that had that eligibility to stay back. It's those two things he's got left that he wants to do, or beat Michigan, which he hasn't done, and to play in the same stadium Daddy played in for that Big Ten title. So remains to be seen if he will. I don't think he will, but something to keep an eye on for sure.
Interesting. Oh yeah. Let's definitely look at that as the off season goes. Let's keep it moving. Another game, team that we actually just talked about that will be coming into the Big Ten next year. Oregon, just absolutely smoking Oregon State, 31-7. Bo Nix had himself a day, only missing 7 passes, 33 of 40, 367 yards, and 2 touchdowns. two wide receivers, Tez Johnson and Troy Franklin, both over 100 yards. I mean, if there was a question coming into this game, if is Oregon for real, I think they answered that, and now it's on to play Washington. I love it.
Yeah, and I'm so excited for that game this weekend. This is one that I had on kind of that danger watch for Oregon. Oregon State is no slouch. That's a very good team. And like I said last week, if it was going into Corvallis, I would have had the Beavers winning that game.
Mm-hmm.
But shout out to Nix and Franklin and the rest of that team. They're arguably the hottest team in football right now. So we'll see if they can get it done against the Huskies. That's going to be a phenomenal game. Right now, I'm leaning Oregon, though, because, I mean, you look at it since the two teams played. Oregon's gone this way. They've just gotten better and better and better.
Yeah.
And Washington struggled almost weekly. So I look for the Huskies to play a lot better this week, but I don't think anyone wants to play Oregon right now.
No. And I mean, we all know about that high-powered offense with, Bo Nix and, Troy Franklin, those guys. But I think one of the biggest things about this game is we know that Oregon State runs the ball. That's one of the things they definitely want to do is control the clock by, that ground game. And they were held to just over 50 yards on the ground. And I think that's something that we all need to look at is that you talk about the Oregon getting better, that defense. It's definitely somebody that slept on because we know all the talk about Pac-12 and Big 12 defenses that it's, few and far between. But for them to kind of put Oregon down in the way that they did, only holding them to 7 points, really kind of, flustering that run game. To your point, man, they are really a team to beat right now. They're playing their best ball. And if they can keep on this run, watch out. Watch out. We see Andrew said, I cannot wait to see the Huskies to end the Ducks. We'll see.
I will say they've got Oregon heavily favored now. It's by over a touchdown. I don't know that I like them that much.
Yeah.
I like kind of the opposite of what happened last time. I like the Ducks by a field goal currently.
I like that. I think it's going to come down to that last drive, and it's going to come down to a decision, kind of like it did in the last game. And I think the Atlantic gets it right this time. I definitely think it gets right. And he's definitely going to shake up that conference playoff picture or that championship, the playoff picture. He'll definitely shake that up. And I'm here for all of it. Look, let's keep it moving. We're going to go SEC, and we got to talk about the Iron Bowl.
Yes, we do. Oh my God!
I mean, come on now. Look, we talked about Jalen Milroe this year. We talked about the lack of talent at Alabama, and this game we know throughout the records because you never know what's going to happen before it to come down to this. For it to come down to this, coming down to his arm, Jalen Milroe gets the go-ahead touchdown late in the game, sets it up beautifully, and just launches a dime to the back pylon of the end zone for the touchdown. Alex, woo! I mean,
wow. That is I'd put money on it's the best throw he's ever made. And when all is said and done, it'll probably be easily in the top 5 best throws he's ever going to throw. That was a phenomenal throw from 4th and 31, I think it was, to hit the corner of the end zone where only his guy could get it. Phenomenal throw, phenomenal game.
Yeah.
This was one of the games I was kind of flipping through after that Michigan game, and it was one of those where, late in the game, it was, okay, I'm just going to stay on this game because it's coming right down to the end. Obviously, there was all the implications where, if Bama lost, there's no way they're making the playoff. And then, what a win that would be for Auburn and what that would do for Hugh Freeze and that program. There were so many implications on that game. Both teams played probably one of their best games of the entire season. Milroe is steadily improving. And like I said a couple weeks ago, or maybe even last week, I think coming into next season, he will be one of the premier quarterbacks.
Oh yeah.
He's
Now,
probably sitting in
he
the
thinks
like
he's
15
already
to
the
20.
premier.
Yeah, that not the way the season started. He can't.
Yeah.
Your Heisman ain't getting benched. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's had a phenomenal season, and I look for it to continue. It'll be interesting to see him against the Bulldogs this weekend, but
Yes.
yeah, no Heisman for him. I don't think he's even a finalist this year, but I think he'll be one of the front runners entering next season.
Oh yeah. I mean, look, we know he is their talent. He is their guy on that team. Yeah. He's working with a lot less talent that they've had in recent memory. And to his credit, man, throwing for over 250, rushing for over 100. He's a stat chaser. He'll put the numbers up.
Yeah.
And but to your point, that pass really kind of showed me. I mean, that he's getting it. He's definitely getting closer, because if you watch him on that play, he kind of, maneuvers that defense with his eyes, and he's looking off to the right and kind of holding this guy at bay. And I was impressed by that throw, but also in the fact that it was a moment you had to have it to basically keep your season alive. I mean, let's be honest. They lose, like you said, they lose that, they're out. And this has already been a season where it's kind of like, can we believe in Alabama? Can we believe in them? But man, they got some fortitude, man. They're really they're trying to prove themselves. But everybody's been trying to prove himself the week before they play Georgia. So
ain't that the truth?
Let's see if they could get this thing done. Do you think that Milroe was have this type of game against Georgia?
That type of game, no. I think he'll still do well and well enough to keep them in the game. Mm-hmm. But Auburn and Georgia are two very different animals. So the speed, the talent, the size that Georgia has makes it extremely difficult, and they are going to make Milroe's life a living hell this weekend. Which Auburn did a pretty good job of that, but it's going to be taken to another level. I like them to keep it close. I do.
Yeah. I think they can. Honestly, if they can control the clock, you have to eliminate turnovers. You have to steal possessions from Georgia. I mean, these are all things you say in every game, but you literally have to get as many possessions as you can, which means an onside kick, right? After halftime, a fake punt somewhere in there. You got to figure something out. Going 4 on 4th, if you have to do that. But yeah, it's going to have to be a little bit extra that's going to put them over the top. But we will see, because again, they're playing for their life. This is already the playoff for them. They can't not afford to lose.
Ever since that loss to Texas, it's essentially been their playoff. So
Oh yeah. And that's another part about it, because now they're really hoping for Texas to keep their season up and keep winning in there for themselves. And we'll talk about them in a little bit later. Going on, we talked about the Pac-12, this being the last week of Pac-12, official Pac-12 football. We know about the other two teams are staying, but Washington State, the Apple Cup comes down to the very end. But Alex, I mean, we know Washington State's no slouch, and these are always tough games. But like to your point, Washington has been kind of just meh since the Oregon game. They've been skating by on some games that you would expect them to blow them out. So should we be, kind of wishy-washy? Like, what are your thoughts on it? Is it anything to worry about, or is it just they still win?
I mean, you got to take it with a pinch of salt, because it is a rivalry game, that one. But there's a reason I've been saying for a while that it's Michigan and Georgia and everyone else.
Right.
Because for a while there, I put Washington up there with those guys, but then they started to struggle with these teams they should not be struggling with. The same kind of games that you haven't seen Georgia and Michigan struggle with.
Yeah.
So as far as playoff, national championship, all that is concerned, you should be very worried if you're a Washington fan starting this weekend, because from here on out, you are playing the best of the best.
Yep.
And in my opinion, they're going to have to play probably the three best teams, in my opinion, left, which is Georgia, Michigan, and Oregon, to win that national championship.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see if they can turn it back to early season Washington. And if they can, it's going to be a lot of fun. And if they don't, then they ain't playing in the playoff. I can tell you that much.
No. And I mean, look, you're going to have to put up a better performance than, look, right after the Oregon game the first time, they went up against Arizona State and beat them 15-7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a turnover-laden game in that one. Then you're able to put up 42 on Stanford, but you also give up 33 to that. You're supposed to have that stout defense. You know, USC put 42 on you with Caleb Williams in that offense, yes, but then you got a one-score game against Utah, a 2-point win against Oregon State. I mean, and then the Washington State. These guys are winning by the skin of their teeth, but as my partner will say on the Let's Talk Football show, a win is a win. You know what I mean? So
it absolutely is. But then, like you said, there were so many one-score games there. After this Washington loss, Oregon won by 14 against Washington State, by 29 against Utah, in Utah, on the road.
Right.
By what, 44 against Cal.
Jeez.
By 9 against USC. By 36 against Arizona State on the road.
Yeah.
And by 24 against Oregon State.
Mm.
So a lot of common opponents there. And that point differential is heavily in Oregon's favor. They allowed fewer points and they scored more. So this is my exact reason why I like Oregon in this game. Because Washington has struggled against teams Oregon is mopping the floor with.
Yeah.
So Oregon, to me, this Oregon-Washington matchup reminds me a lot of that Michigan State in 2021, where it was those two really good teams.
Right.
Michigan as Oregon in this scenario took that loss, and then it just focused them. They became laser focused, and they just took care of business the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And then we saw them in the playoffs. So I like Oregon a lot compared to that 2021 Michigan team. And I think it's going to end up with the same result. I think they'll make the first round of the playoff, and I think that's as far as they get. But this is still a very good, very dangerous football team.
Right. And look, for all intents and purposes, Michael Penix is still at Heisman. Well, I would say front runner. I mean, Jaden Daniels is he's making a case.
To me, I think Bo Nix is the front runner right now.
Ooh, I would not have a problem with that at all, man. I like that. And if you know our guy Alec, he says there's only one guy. His list says Bo Nix.
Yeah, the BONIX for the 5 finals.
Right. That's it. I like that. So we'll definitely see, and it's going to be a jam-packed weekend. We're going to definitely see this. Yeah. This game is this is one of the ones I'm definitely. I mean, obviously, all of them. I want to see to some regard, but this one is one of the ones. The rematch, them getting back in there. Woo! And so many things.
This one will be done. This one will be done before we go live on Saturday.
Oh,
because it's Friday night.
Oh yeah.
So
I love that.
Friday night, 6 p.m. Eastern.
Oh,
it's gonna be a good game.
Yes. Yo. All right. Moving down the list, Florida State beats Florida 24-15. As you know, Jordan Travis did not play. Neither did Graham Mertz. Both of them were out. So this one was the running game. Both teams had a running back that had a solid game. But let's be honest, Trey Benson stole the show. 95 on the ground, 3 TDs. And I mean, hey, listen, we all knew, we all had questions Travis wasn't in there. We didn't know who was going to, a road maker, if he was going to take over, if he'd do it. He had a fairly pedestrian day. But when you have your number one guy out, just like in your game, Corum stepped up. This game, Trey Benson dominated, did what he had to do, blew the doors wide open to secure the win. But can they keep this up? I mean, without their quarterback.
They can keep it up one more week. They can beat Louisville. I don't know if they will.
Yeah.
That should be a lot better game now that Jordan Travis is out. I thought they blew the doors off Louisville with Travis in, but that game should be interesting. And if they, I hate to say this and compare it back to that 2021 playoff, if they win, they're like Cincinnati in 2021.
Ooh.
They're going to go in. It's not going to be close.
Oh,
and it's going to be
that.
Thanks for playing. Like, is as much as I hate to say it, you're not walking in. Like, that's still a very good football team.
Yeah.
But you're not walking in with Rodemaker as your quarterback and winning against likely Georgia.
Yeah.
Because I think FSU would go in as the 4 seed. I think they'd move Oregon to 3. I think it would end up Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, FSU.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
and
the
all
committee's
I see in
damned
that,
if they do and damned if they don't.
Yeah, right. And when I look at that those list of teams, I see 3 quarterbacks and then not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I see a Bo Nix, a JJ McCarthy, a Carson Beck, all 3 guys who have proved themselves in the biggest of moments. And then you got a Rodemaker, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry.
If Travis was in, I'd like them to potentially upset one of those 3 teams, but
I could see it. I could definitely potentially see it with Travis in there. And the reason being is because outside of Benson, you also had this stout defense led by Jared Verse. They had 6 sacks, 11 tackles for loss in this game. Definitely balled out and were able to keep a struggling Florida offense at bay, even though they did give them 100 yards on the ground. But they're going to need help. To your point, I do believe they can beat Louisville. We saw Louisville just got upset by Kentucky this past weekend. So they're coming in kind of limping.
Too.
Yeah, exactly. I think FSU can at least keep it going for one more week. But like you said, damned if you do, damned if you don't, because I don't. With a straight face, I don't know that I can let FSU in without Travis. It's just.
But then here's
hard.
the thing: is if with everything that committee stands for, you're not going to allow an undefeated conference champion at that point. Like at this point, them standing on their morals, they pretty much have to if FSU wins.
Yeah.
But then,
all right, Louisville.
The thing, if they lose. Then who's gonna get that last spot? Because if they're going just based on their rankings, then it is Ohio State. Ohio State is 6, Texas is 7, Alabama is 8. So,
but
that's
if Bama loses.
Yeah. If Bama loses, they're gone, and I think even if Bama wins, they're probably not in.
Yeah. They have to blow them out.
Unless Texas loses, then I think they'd put 1-loss SEC champ over 1-loss Ohio State.
Yeah.
I don't know that they do it with the Big 12 champ.
But
that's
that 1 loss from Ohio State is another team that's in the playoff.
Yeah, but it was the same thing that slept them in or snuck them in last year.
Yeah. I don't think people wanted to see CJ Stroud against that matchup, and he gave them everything to handle.
That was a great game.
Right. If it wasn't for a daggone field goal kicker, we're talking about potentially Ohio State winning it all last year. I know.
I don't think there's a potential. I think whoever won that other game was beating the brakes off TCU.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be fun to see. But yeah, that Ohio State, I don't. But my point was, I don't think people want the committee, at least, or the fans. I don't think they want McCord like they wanted CJ Stroud. You know what I mean? We're talking about a Heisman Trophy, candidate versus
Now, at the
villain.
same time, if you're comparing Ohio State and Texas, is there anyone on Texas that's playing with as big a star power as Marvin Harrison Jr. or JT Tuimoloau or Emeka Ibuka or Denzel Burke? Like, there's...
Yeah, it's true.
I think that's going to be the driving factors. There's so much star power and so much marketability. Now, marketability, Texas hangs in there right with Ohio State, but when you're talking the marketability of all those players, I think it's Ohio State.
Yes. Ooh, man. Oh, that's gonna be interesting, man. Look, we're gonna see, and look, and again, we're gonna talk about all this. It's all gonna play out real quick. Let's keep moving. There's two more quick games we wanted to get into. You talked about Alabama. Their opponent is the Georgia Bulldogs, who have not lost. They haven't lost, but they've had some close ones, and this one unexpectedly was very close. Georgia Tech went up to a 10-7 lead. We know Georgia came in there, and at halftime, I think it was 21-10. But Georgia Tech never went down on this one, losing the game 31-23. If you look at the stats for this game, Alex, I mean, they're about even. I mean, Georgia had 175 in the air to 158 for Tech. Georgia had 260 on the ground to 205 for Georgia Tech. Time of possession was fairly similar. In fact, Georgia had 2 turnovers to Tech's 0. But at the end of the day, that running game for Georgia was the difference. Milton, 2 TDs over 150 yards, man. So this is huge for Georgia, but should we be nervous? Did they overlook this? What are you thinking about this?
They sat their 3 best receivers, and that's including Brock Bowers. To me, they made themselves one-dimensional immediately.
Yeah.
Offensively in this one. Now, it was nice to see Carson Beck still be able to spread the ball around to everyone else that was there, but when you're without Brock Bowers, you're without McConkey. And when you're without all those guys and the game plan is hand the ball off, that score is going to be closer. I think the game was further apart than the score showed. And especially given the fact that Georgia essentially treated this like a preseason game and sat a lot of their stars. So this doesn't worry me one bit. I think they're still going to come in and be the dominant Georgia Bulldogs that we've seen. And it's just the one interesting thing with this game this weekend is when it's in an SEC championship game, Kirby Smart is not beating Nick Saban. Georgia's never, in the history, Georgia's never beaten Bama in the SEC title game.
Wow.
So there's some history there. Don't know if that streak will continue. I don't think it will. I like Georgia to get the win, but it's I also like them 2 years ago to get the win, and Bama stole it from them. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. Oof. Ooh, man, that's going to be very interesting for Bama to see if they can pull this out. I mean, Georgia, you see, like you said, they're one-dimensional, and they still ran all over, Georgia Tech. Now, I will shout out Haynes King. I think he was the quarterback that was transferred from – he was at Texas A&M a couple years back, right?
Yeah, I think last year, and then came in this year.
Yeah, we'll shout him out. I mean, again, just, kind of pedestrian, but still, he's been looking really good as of late. We saw they beat us 46-42. And last couple games, Georgia Tech has been a solid force. That's why I was eager to see this game. But, again, Georgia is who Georgia is. But Haynes King definitely has solidified himself, in my opinion, as the starter right now. And Georgia Tech has them looking a lot better, especially down the stretch than I thought than I expected them to be. So, and
he's only a sophomore, so you got him for a couple more years.
Yeah. So I'm eager to see what they can do at Georgia Tech. Obviously, it's been a long, long time since they've been a formidable force in any regard. We got to go back to what the Megatron days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, mid 2000s.
Right. So we'll see. I'm glad to see them at least keep it close, but like you said, the score is not indicative of how far the game actually was for most of it. We need to move on. I got to talk about my guys. Rivalry week will end with North Carolina State getting the W. They're actually ranked, and we are not. 22nd ranked North Carolina State wins 39-20. My Tar Heels are 2-4 in their last 6 games, and technically one of those wins was against Campbell. So I can't even really call that one, and the other one was a double overtime thriller against Duke. So it has really been a struggle as of late and in the last 2 years, where towards the end of the season, we just seem to, I don't know what it is. To your point that you said about us all year, as far as our defense, just like towards the end, we just run out of gas. And that's kind of what I feel like the team did. The team has been playing balls to wall all year long, but I just think we ran out of gas, man.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with that. It's tough to see, in my opinion, Drake May's last regular season game go like that. And there's so much talent on that offense, but you see it in every level of football all the time. When there's an elite offense and a defense that gets worn down, you tend to lose shootouts often.
Yep.
So I think with this month off, like I said a couple weeks ago, I think this is a very dangerous UNC team in that bowl game, especially if all the guys play.
Yes.
Because you get that defense some rest. You come in fresh to that game. I think you're going to see a different UNC team. I think you're going to see the team that came out early in this year.
Yeah. And here's hoping so. And like you alluded to, Drake has said he wants to play in that game, in the bowl game, and I'm hoping so. Well, I got mixed emotions, but for me, wanting to see my guy one more time, I definitely want him on that field in that game. But I got to shout out North Carolina State. Brennan Armstrong, the guy transferred from Virginia over to NC State. He was back in this game, over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. He looked good. They ran the ball effectively, over 170 on the ground collectively. They just looked really good. Kevin Concepcion was a leading rusher with 55 yards and a leading receiver with 133 yards, had 2 touchdowns to go with that. They beat us on offense. They got out to an early start up 20-7. And then at halftime, it was like 33-20. And it was just, we were playing catch up for the whole game. And we just ran out of gas. We ran out of gas. So like I said, it was a hard weekend. Obviously, the only colors I'm wearing is North Carolina because my other team got waxed off the face of the planet. It was ugly. And to my most hated rival. God, I feel like Ohio State feels right now. Like, God. But our coach did get fired. So one of our coaches or 2.
Yeah.
We'll see. But look, we have to move on. We've been alluding to this the majority of this show, talking about these conference championships. I'm going to really quick show all of the list of the conference championships. Here it is. You got the American with Tulane and SMU. Games. Big 12 with Texas and Oklahoma State. Liberty and New Mexico State in the Conference USA. I'm so excited for that one. You got Mountain West is Boise State, UNLV, Georgia and Alabama and SEC. ACC we see is Louisville versus FSU. You got your game against Iowa for the Big Ten. The MAC, Miami of Ohio versus Toledo. You got the Pac-12 is Washington and Oregon, and then the Sun Belt is Troy and App State. And I mean, you said it. This is a number of great games. I can't wait. Outside of your game, what is the one that you're most eager to see?
Man, that's a tough one. I think the obvious choice is the Pac-12. But for me, I think my other one's the American Athletic Conference, the AAC.
Oh yeah.
SMU and Tulane there. I think that's going to be a phenomenal game. Two very good teams, very good records. Both 1 or 2 losses, if I'm not mistaken. And it's going to be some good group of 5 football that a lot of people don't get to see throughout the year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And look, I got to go Conference USA, man.
Yep.
We got on one side Liberty, my state of Virginia, undefeated still, and then they're going up against New Mexico State. I've talked about Diego Pavia for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
He's a gunslinger. This guy seems to continue to fight. And he's got these boys playing. I really think this is going to be a barn burner. I think this is going to be a game that is really going to shock a lot of people. And I'm excited to see go Mizzou. What up, Scott?
Yeah, if you're not doing anything this weekend, take a chance to look at all these games if you get the chance, because this is the cream of the crop for all these conferences. You get 2 on Friday, and then Big 12 and the MAC are noon kickoff. Then you get Mountain West at 3 p.m. Eastern, SEC and the American and the Sun Belt at 4 p.m. Eastern, then the ACC and the Big 10 at 8 p.m. Eastern. Oh, yeah. So a lot of opportunity to watch basically all the games, flip back and forth. I know that's what I'm going to be doing. Oh, yeah. And I cannot wait.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And as you see, once these games start to play out, then some of these questions that we've been asking and talking about left and right start to get answered. Who will be playing and who does now have a loss potentially, or who is the best 2-loss team, or who's hopping who. It's all going to get figured out this weekend. And then it's when the real fun starts. Starting to see whose schedule is
Selection Sunday, and
right.
Who's playing the Rose Bowl and who's playing, I believe, the Sugar Bowl for the Natty, or for the playoff picture there. I think it's those 2. Yeah, Sugar Bowl and the Rose Bowl.
Oh man! Oh, I love that. I love
New
seeing
Orleans
that.
and Pasadena.
One of these days, I'm gonna go, man. I got to go to the granddaddy of them all.
I'm right there with you. I gotta go.
Yo, let's go ahead and move on. We appreciate y'all being here with us. We're going into some college football storylines. We're talking about a lot of these teams that are making it to the bowl games, having these great seasons, and just enjoying themselves, still being able to playing out their last game. Some of these guys, some of these seniors, or draft eligible guys. Now, there's also another side to this game. Some of these teams' off seasons have started fairly early, and we're going to go ahead and first get into this coaching carousel. And hey, we've already seen it. Jimbo got the axe. Dino Babers a week ago, he got fired. Zach Arnett, the guy from Mississippi State, he was one that only had, I think, like 6-7 games, and he got let go, taking over after
Holgerson.
Holgerson. I can't believe that, man. Yo, so I mean, let's talk about it, because we know first and foremost, Elko goes to Texas A&M. He's going to be taking over the job over there. I love this for him, and this is going to be sacrilegious, forgive me, North Carolina fans, but I hate this for Duke, because I finally kind of start to fear Duke. I was finally like, damn, man, I am not looking forward to this game. And now it's kind of like, I hope this doesn't reset that team, because they really got something over there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be huge to see who takes over that team. But on the Texas A&M side, I don't think there was a better hire out there, personally. And I mean, I'm being realistic. I know they were going to throw the offer to Kirby Smart to be the highest paid coach ever. He wasn't taking that. No. He was going to stay right where he's at. Right. You weren't going to get any of those elite top tier coaches. So get somebody that's proven they can rebuild a program. To me, it was Mike Elko and Jonathan Smith were the two guys that if I was Texas A&M, I am blank check. What do you want?
Right.
And Mike Elko, if I'm not mistaken, was a former A&M DC. So he's got the connections there. Can build the program up. I love this. This is a 10 out of 10 hire for me for A&M.
Yeah. And I love that they did it early.
Yeah.
They didn't wait till the offseason. They didn't wait till all that. They did it at the point now where he can actually go and start to look at recruiting, start to look at who do I want to come here? What kind of staff do I want to bring together? So I agree. I love this for him. Like I said, I hate this, but this is part of what happens. A guy gets an opportunity. Sometimes that school that he leaves struggles, but it remains to be seen who is going to be looking at that position. Now, we've seen another number of other coaches get hired. Syracuse hires Georgia DB's coach, Frank Brown. Who have we seen? You talked about Holgorsen getting let go. Arkansas vetting Bobby Petrino and potentially bringing him back as their offensive coordinator. I mean, at this time of the year, even Michigan State's in the mix, getting Jonathan Smith from Oregon State.
Yep, I absolutely love that one too.
Yeah,
that is a plus 10 out of 10 hire for them as well.
Yeah, and this is something that I'm obviously I got a closer eye on because of Cat, but this is something where they have a real opportunity right now to kind of set this thing straight. You know what I mean? Obviously, you have the whole thing with Mel Tucker. Then you go a little farther back. You have the whole thing with the guy, with the gymnastics and all that crazy allegation. Nassar. And then, unfortunately, the school shooting. There's just been a lot of negativity around, that school, and the play on the field has mimicked all of that. So I'm kind of hoping this is a reset, a complete washout of everything that from the past. And let's start anew, man, because you got Ryan Day and you got Jim Harbaugh that are running things. So you're going to have to figure something out to kind of get Michigan State back in that competitive, kind of mindset out there.
Well, and then you still have James Franklin, and then you're bringing in Lincoln Riley. You're bringing in Dan Lennon, and Kalen DeBoer is coming back to the Big Ten. I forgot another one we forgot to say. There's the opening at UCLA.
Right. Oh, yeah. Chip Kelly's gone.
Chip Kelly.
Ooh. So, man. And that's who's going to want to take that job coming into the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But speaking of the Big Ten, Indiana head coach, we said he was on the hot seat. Tom Allen got fired, man. Oh, man. I can't say we didn't see it coming, though.
No, but it was still a $20 million buyout. They still had to pay him a pretty penny to get rid of him. He got that big extension after, I believe it was the 2020 season. The season where our background for going for two, you got Michael Penix Jr. doing the dive there. That was that season. So, this is another one like a Michigan State, like an A&M, where you're going to have to build it back up. Obviously not. Texas A&M's on a different level than the other two because they're still loaded with 5 stars, and it's Texas A&M. All the money, the boosters, the ability you have to recruit, all that. But this is one where whoever takes over for Allen is going to have to build this from the ground back up. So you're going to have to get a guy that you're willing to give probably 5 years before you're really expecting anything. I'd like for them to get a guy that knows the area, that's kind of an Indiana guy.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of those are out there that are looking to take that job, but that's a tough one. That might be a first-time head coach kind of thing.
Yeah. And you know what? I got to say, I mean, like I alluded to earlier, we talked about this guy towards earlier in the year. We talked about him being on the hot seat, and to our credit, the first half of the season looked rough. But I mean, we got to give him credit. He showed life in that game against Penn State, where they, kept them. That was in the game. We're in the game close late in that game. They were able to beat a Wisconsin team that struggled, but had good moments. They went to overtime against Illinois. That was an amazing game. Michigan State barely beat them by 3, and then obviously Purdue barely beat them. They didn't roll over and play dead, and I think that's really something to show. Hey, Tom Allen's been struggling, yes, and maybe he can get somewhere else because they never quit. And I like to see that they at least put up a fight in a lot of those games later. What's up, Ben?
I saw that. As soon as I saw Indiana guy, I knew right away where he was going with that. Love it.
Yo, Scott said, Fiesta, Peach, or Cotton, which will Missouri play?
I don't know. I hope whichever bowl they put them in, I want them to match them up with Penn State. I think that would be a really fun game.
Ooh, I would like to see that one. Oh, yeah.
Or Ohio State if they slip out. Or, there's a lot of those teams that are right there. Texas, Mizzou would be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Any of those teams that are inside the top 10, throw Mizzou against one of them.
Yeah, Missouri, honestly, I really I've been talking about them all year. Obviously, we know about Luther Burden. He's, been doing great for the last couple of years. But, hey, Brady Cook at quarterback, that defense is stout. Our guy, Cody Schrader, shout out to Scott. Yep, shout out to Scott who brought him to our attention, man. He's been just doing the best he can do. I mean, really just taking over that offense. Missouri is one of these teams that I'm looking at it, and I mean, you got the Georgia and Michigan, they're above and everybody, but you start going down that list after that, and I'll take them against any one of those other teams. You know what I mean? Especially at Washington, especially maybe not in Oregon. They're playing pretty stout right now, but definitely in Washington, a Florida State without Travis. I don't want to play them as a North Carolina fan. I don't want to play them in a bowl game this year, but hopefully it doesn't look like that. But yeah, so I mean, a lot of guys are moving right now, and this was a big job. Obviously, Middle Tennessee State fired their head coach, Rick Stockstill. You talked about Dana Holgorsen. Any
UTEP.
other? Say again.
UTEP was one, I believe.
Yep.
Boise State. New Mexico.
Yeah.
There's. Yeah, I'm trying to think who else.
We know what's the guy from OU, the offensive coordinator, Levy.
Oh, Levy, yeah, he's taking over at Mississippi State. Which also I saw a picture today of him with one Arch Manning.
Ooh,
keep an eye on that. With Ewers supposedly coming back. And Texas is targeting other transfer portal quarterbacks. Keep an eye on Arch Manning. I think he might be going somewhere. And you look at Mississippi State. Look at Mississippi State. Will Rogers on his way out.
Yes.
Playing at the rival school of his uncle.
There's
some interesting stuff there.
Oh, I'm excited about this. Look, let's go ahead and let's move right into that. Let's move right into that. The transfer portal is very active right now. I mean, you talked about that. That might be the blockbuster news right there. If Arch transfers out, nobody's talking about anything else but Arch Manning. And I like to see that. And a couple names that are brought to mind. You talked to me about one of these guys, Will Howard from Kansas State. It's the transfer portal. Tyler Van Dyke of Miami.
Yep. Every Michigan State quarterback.
I feel for it. Wow, everybody's going. Hauser, Kim, and Sam Levitt. All of those guys are on the move. Chris Tyree from Notre Dame. Trayshawn Ward from Kansas State. Caleb Furia from Colorado. And in the last about 24 to 48 hours, a number of players have left Colorado. So that's going to be interesting, especially with them moving out of the Pac-12. What other names have you been seeing? Have you seen anybody?
One major one I sent to you right before the show. I don't know if you saw it or not. So this guy hasn't officially entered the transfer portal. Schools are essentially begging him to. So Auburn, Miami, Ohio State, Texas A&M, Washington, Notre Dame, Oregon, and Texas have all made calls to Cameron Ward of Washington State.
Oh, what?
And it's supposedly he's already received over 10 $1 million plus offers to enter the transfer portal and come to school elsewhere. So that is one to keep an eye on. He'd be one of the front runners there. And then obviously we talked about Will Rogers earlier. A lot of really good quarterbacks in the transfer portal. Also Dante Moore we said potentially to look at. So there's a lot of quarterbacks for a year where a lot of quarterbacks are going pro. So definitely keep your eye out.
Oh, yeah. Ben said, I saw a post on the FSU website that said Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, should they enter the portal, Norvell should go after them. No, I don't see it happen, but what if, let's say you guys.
Shedeur ain't leaving.
It ain't happening. It's not this quickly. It ain't going to happen. It would be interesting, though.
And it'd be interesting to look at if they get that immediate eligibility. Yeah. Because it's at the NCAA's discretion at this point, because Shedeur might be able to qualify as a grad transfer. I don't know how his schooling's been, but ain't no way Travis Hunter is a grad transfer. So that's out the window there. Shedeur probably could, but they ain't leaving Daddy Prime. Deion Sanders is staying in Colorado. So is Shedeur. So is Shiloh, and so is Travis Hunter.
Wow. Oh man. I mean, we know quarterbacks normally get to go left and right like a revolving door. Yeah. It's only these it's only us wide receivers.
I was gonna say I was leaving that alone on purpose. So but if they were to go in the portal, absolutely FSU should go after them. I mean, you get a guy that 2 years ago was the number one recruit in the country. Shedeur was one of the better quarterbacks in the league when healthy. So neither of them are going, but if they do, FSU should do everything they can to get them.
Mizzou needs some transfers with many of our stars graduated.
Need a running back for sure.
You definitely have Burden. I know you have Brady Cook coming back. So
yeah.
Oh yeah. So look, and with the movement of these coaches, with the as these games start to die down and teams start to get into their off season or their bowls or stuff like that, then you will start to see more and more the transfer portal getting flooded and different players going in different directions. And it's hard not to say it's free agency with how some of this NIL and this money. Yeah, it definitely is. So it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see. I will say, Alex, it's not easy to see a guy play for a different jersey. It's not like the NFL where it's like, okay, he got traded here. Like, I get that. College is like, like I was so ready with Peyton Thorne. Peyton Thorne has been playing decent in his last game. At least he did against Bama. And I was, he was on my dartboard, when he was in Michigan State, because I was like, this guy is awful. But in the system, he looks good. He looks like a different quarterback. So it's hard to get used to.
Well, it's also crazy to think. It feels like just yesterday we were talking about Sam Hartman showing up in South Bend and Devin Leary just showing up at Kentucky and Brennan Armstrong at NC State and all these guys just moving around. Cade McNamara at Iowa. There were so many of these guys that we were wondering how they do. And now we're already looking at the next crop of transfer portal guys to go along with the incoming recruits. It's wild.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. This stuff happens. It's just revolving. It just goes so quickly. So quickly. Yeah. Daggone championship weekend already. What is going on, man?
That is wild.
Good gracious. But look, ladies and gentlemen, we're close to the end, but you know how we do. We got to give out our game balls. So we're going to go ahead and do it. Our week 13 game balls for this past week. I'm going to go first. My game ball, I got to go to the Apple Cup. I got to go to the Washington versus Washington State game. The game came down to the wire, so tense that Michael Penix couldn't even watch. He tucked himself in like a little, drawer or something. Couldn't watch it. Even after the kick was made, had to cover him up and just walk him off the field, man. Too emotional, and I love to see it myself. But this one goes to the sophomore kicker, Grady Gross, who hits the game-winning field goal in the Apple Cup. But my favorite part about that is he got a little something after the game.
I love it.
And you know what I hope Grady Gross is thankful for? The scholarship he's earned.
That is awesome. It's always great to see those videos.
Let's go. That is one of my favorite things to watch, especially coming into the season, is all those different ways that they get these guys on scholarship. But to see it like this, in the biggest game, he makes the biggest kick and then gets this, man, shout out to him.
Saves their season.
Yeah. So definitely he got my first game ball. Who's your first game ball?
I love that. So I went for record setters this weekend. They both happen to be in the Big Ten. My first one is a guy. If you're watching the Saturday show, I talk about him in the intro there, Mr. Taulia Tagovailoa. He set the all-time Big Ten passing yards record for a career, passing Curtis Painter's 11,163 yards while he was at Purdue. Taulia, the record is currently at 11,256. He balled out on Saturday in a big game against Rutgers. He was 24 of 31, 361 yards, 3 touchdowns, did have an interception, but just wanted to shout this guy out. In the intro, I say he's a little too backyardish. It tends to work out for him, though, and he is the all-time career leader for Big Ten passing yards. Shout out to Mr. Tagovailoa.
Oh, I love that. Oh, yeah. Shout out to him for sure. My last one, the last week before championship weekend, last regular season games are finished. So I got to shout out my guy. We've been talking about him all year round. My quarterback. In potentially one of the last games I'm ever going to see this guy play in North Carolina uniform. Drake May, ladies and gentlemen, and I know he lost the game, but this guy gave him everything he had. 22 of 38, 254 yards, 2 TDs. Also did have 2 interceptions, which always is gonna stick in my side. But 9 carries for 106 yards. That is something that I think is very appreciated about Drake May, is his mobility and his ability to extend the play. It's something that Sam Howell does very well. And I think him being our leading rusher by almost a half, almost 50 yards is a big deal. You know what I mean? So, and also, and it also goes, everybody knows, we've known since the beginning of the season that Drake May is one of the top 2 quarterbacks and that he's that guy. A lot of quarterbacks, a lot of players will kind of say, hey, I'm just going to make some business decisions so I can, make sure I get that paycheck. But he's still out here, man. He's still out here getting twisted up and tossing it while laying on the ground, the whole 9. And so that's my guy, man. And I hate it that he potentially could be going in the pros. Great for him and everything.
He gone.
I just want one more year. Is that
you get
ask Drake? What more?
Yes, it is. You better prep yourself for one more game because he got one after that.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts my heart. Oh, man. Yo, and who is your last game ball?
So another record setter came from the game on the winning sideline for Michigan, Mr. Blake Corum. Broke the single season Michigan rushing touchdown record. He's now at 22 touchdowns on the year. And funny enough, that happened. He had 22 carries for 88 yards, so 4 yards a carry and 2 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. So had to shout out my guy. We'll see if it was enough to get into that Heisman race because I did predict one of the two, probably the winner out of Harrison Jr. and Corum, would sneak in there at the end. We'll see if he did enough to get in there.
I hope so. Very deserving. Very deserving. Especially after last year, man. God, you just wish I think he's the top 2 if he stays healthy last year, man.
Mm-hmm.
I always think about that, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have to go ahead and let you go. Hey, we're here. Championship week is here. As my guy alluded to, the games will be starting what, Thursday or Friday? Friday night. Friday night will be the first game. New Mexico State, Liberty. They play at 7:00 p.m. and then Oregon, Washington at the 8:00 hour. Then obviously you got the Saturday game. So, man, oh man, and look, it couldn't be 2 better games to start off championship weekend. And I'm excited to see both of them. So,
absolutely.
Let's get it. Let us get it. And as we know, our guy, Mr. Loosemore over here ends the evening with Florida State and FSU do. Well, you guys both do.
Both do, yeah.
Yeah. But needless to say, I'll be more focused on your game than I will this Louisville,
Fair.
So we'll see how it goes. But look, ladies and gentlemen, we need to go ahead. Oh, Jason Swade, welcome back, friend. This guy, good gracious.
I don't know that it's welcome back. It's
right. You are back. Let's just say that. Yo, all right, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, we have to let you go, man. We appreciate you coming here, watching us on this Tuesday. Stay tuned. Friday, championship weekend starts. Saturday, all the other games will play. And then after that, now the committee starts to work and we start to figure out who is playing where. Okay. Oh, I'm excited. I can't wait. Oh, Bittersweet, Alex. Bittersweet.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to let you go. You know who it is for your boy, Sean Spencer, my guy and host of Restoring the Roar, Alex Loosemore. We are going to see y'all next time. Hey, enjoy the last couple games because it's almost over, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Oh, God. It's almost over. Yeah. All right, we're out of here.
College Football Update. It's with your host, Sean Spencer. Hey.